Female, 32. Dad won't attend my wedding because international travel is too difficult, despite recent vacations to Thailand, Vietnam, and Australia. Am I being unreasonable for being upset? Throwaway because some friends know my main account. Longtime lurker, first-time poster. This might be long, sorry in advance for the wall of text. So I'm getting married in 6 months to Nathan, male 34, who is honestly the most supportive person I've ever met. Relevant later. We've been engaged for about a year, and I've been planning this wedding since we got engaged. Everything was going great until I called my dad to confirm he'd be coming to the wedding. Some background. My parents divorced when I was 13. My dad, James, male, 62, moved to Singapore 15 years ago with his girlfriend May, now female, 44, when I was 17. And get this, he actually announced he was moving to Singapore at his own mother's funeral. Like, who does that? I still can't believe it when I think about it. My mom basically raised me and my brother Alex, male, 34, by herself after that, with less and less financial support from my dad as the years went by. For the past 15 years, my dad has been promising to visit, but never follows through. I'll come for Christmas, or maybe I'll visit this summer, but something always comes up. Meanwhile, I've made 2 super expensive trips to Singapore in my 20s when I was a broke graduate student drowning in student loans, that he didn't help with, by the way. But whatever, I guess. He's always insisted that our weekly Sunday video calls at 8 p.m. are enough, parenting from 9,000 miles away. I literally catch myself reaching for my phone at exactly 8 p.m. every Sunday, even when I'm out with friends, because it's so ingrained in me. It's pathetic, honestly. I spent basically all of high school making up excuses for why my dad wasn't at anything. Oh, he's on a business trip, or he lives overseas for work, became my go-to lines. I got so good at it that I still catch myself doing it as an adult when coworkers ask about my family. It's like this weird protective instinct, even though he should be the one embarrassed, not me. Meanwhile, his Instagram, yes, I still check it, I know I shouldn't, shows him and May going on these amazing vacations all over Asia while he told me he couldn't afford to help with my student loans. But he could apparently afford a week at some luxury resort in Bali. Cool, cool, cool. Anyway, I called him last week to talk about wedding plans and whether he needed help booking flights or hotels. I waited until our usual call time so he couldn't say he was busy. I mentioned his recent trips to Vietnam, Thailand, and Australia that I saw on Instagram, hoping he'd get the hint. He claimed those trips were different because they were for May's family obligations. When I asked what family obligations were in Australia, he changed the subject to his knee problems and claimed his doctor advised against long flights. I offered solutions like aisle seats or arriving early to recover from jet lag. He interrupted me and suggested I move my wedding to Singapore instead. When I explained that wasn't possible because of Nathan's family, my job, and friends all being here, he sighed and said, "It's not like he'd be walking me down the aisle anyway, since my stepfather would do that." I went silent. My stepfather died 3 years ago, which my dad knows. Before I could respond, he changed the subject to ask about my job. I called my brother Alex afterward to vent. He wasn't surprised and reminded me that our dad had missed his college graduation and other important events too. When I suggested we confront Dad together, Alex laughed and asked what that would accomplish. He pointed out that I keep calling Dad every Sunday, despite always complaining about him. When I asked if I was overreacting, Alex said, "I've spent my whole life hoping Dad would change, but he won't." I talked to my mom about it too, and she just said, "He was always selfish, but he's still your father," while checking her phone the entire time we were talking. Super helpful, Mom. Nathan is being supportive as always, saying, "I don't want you to regret cutting him out, but I can tell he's annoyed at how much my dad upsets me." He's never actually met my dad in person because, surprise, surprise, my dad canceled his trip when Nathan and I first got serious. I know this sounds stupid, but I still have this box of seashells my dad sent me when I was 19. He collected them on some beach in Singapore. I've been meaning to throw them away for like a decade, but somehow can't bring myself to do it. I also still practice saying Singapore landmarks correctly, even though I mispronounce them every time I talk to my dad. I keep telling myself I'm ready to cut ties with him, but then I find myself checking flight prices to Singapore just in case. I say I don't care about his approval anymore, but I'm literally stressing about what he'll think of my wedding dress that he'll never even see now. I know I sound contradictory and messy. I'm just so frustrated. I'm scared he won't come, and I'm scared he will come and make everything about him or embarrass me. When dad calling pops up on my phone, I get this physical feeling of dread in my stomach. But I always answer. Always. Am I overreacting about my dad not attending my wedding? I feel like I'm going crazy. Edit. Wow, I wasn't expecting so many responses. Thank you all for the support. 2. To clarify for those asking, yes, I'm walking myself down the aisle. My mom offered, but it didn't feel right. And no, my dad has never been married to May. They've just been together for 15 plus years. 3. Some people are asking why I keep in contact with him if he's so terrible. I honestly don't know. It's like, I know logically that he's never going to be the dad I want him to be, but some part of me can't fully accept it. I'm not usually this indecisive about things. Ask anyone who knows me. But with my dad, I'm just a mess. Edit 4. For those saying I should just move my wedding to Singapore, no. My entire life is here. Most of my family and all of Nathan's family are here. My dad is literally the only person who would benefit from that change. And honestly, after reading all these comments, I'm realizing how ridiculous his suggestion actually was. Now for the first update. So a lot has happened since my last post. Like a lot. First, thank you to everyone who commented with advice and support. I read every single comment, even if I didn't respond to all of them. Some of you were really harsh about my dad, deserved to be honest, and it was actually helpful to see strangers call out his behavior so clearly when I've been making excuses for him my whole life. Anyway, the wedding was 3 months ago, and yeah, my dad didn't come. Big surprise, right? 2 days before the ceremony, he texted, not even called, texted, that he had a work emergency and couldn't make it. Then he sent us a $150 Amazon gift card. Not even something personal or thoughtful, just an e-gift card with a generic "congratulations to you both" message. I mean, he could have at least picked something from our registry, but whatever. I had mixed feelings about him not coming. Like, I was disappointed, obviously, but also kind of relieved. I was stressing so much about how he would act, if he would make everything awkward, if he would say something embarrassing in front of Nathan's family. So part of me was like, thank God I don't have to deal with that drama on my wedding day. The ceremony was beautiful. I cried, Nathan cried, everyone cried. But I kept checking my phone during the reception. Like, constantly. I don't even know what I was expecting. That he'd suddenly change his mind and show up. That he'd at least call. Nathan eventually took my phone away and was like, babe, be present with the people who are here, which was totally fair. What was really messed up is how I kept lying to people who asked where my dad was. Like, I told some people he was sick, told others he had an unavoidable work thing, told Nathan's grandma that the flight got canceled last minute. I don't even know why I was protecting him. It's not like anyone would have judged me if I just said, my dad lives in Singapore and decided not to come. But I've spent my whole life making excuses for him, and I guess old habits die hard. So here's where things get more complicated. I'm pregnant. We found out a few weeks ago. I should be excited, and I am, but I'm having some complications that have me on doctor-ordered bed rest. Nothing super serious, hopefully, but enough that I can't work and have to basically lie around all day trying not to freak out. Nathan has been amazing, working overtime to cover the medical bills our insurance isn't fully covering, bringing me endless snacks, and pretending not to notice when I cry over literally nothing. Seriously, yesterday I cried because we were out of a specific flavor of yogurt. Hormones are wild. And I know this is stupid, but even after everything, I found myself wanting my dad's support. Not money or anything, we're managing, but just, I don't know, fatherly comfort, something. So I called him during our regular Sunday time and told him about the pregnancy and the complications. I very specifically said, I'm not asking for money, I just wanted to share this with you and maybe get some emotional support because I'm scared. Know what he said? These things happen, try to stay positive. That's it. Then he was like, stress is bad for the baby. No shit, Dad, I know that. And then he sent me links to like 5 pregnancy articles, as if I haven't been obsessively researching everything myself. I've been doing weird things to manage my anxiety since being stuck on bed rest. Like, I alphabetize our spice jars when I'm feeling anxious. Nathan thinks I'm nuts, but whatever, it helps. I still sleep with this old stuffed panda my dad gave me when I was 12, sometimes when Nathan works late. And, okay, This is embarrassing, but I've been watching Singapore travel vlogs on YouTube. Nathan thinks I'm watching birthing classes, but really I'm just virtually wandering around my dad's city trying to, I don't know, understand him better or something. God, that sounds pathetic when I type it out. Then something crazy happened. I was on the phone with my brother Alex last week, and he mentioned something about Dad's trip to New York last year. I was like, wait, what? And Alex got really quiet and was like, oh, you didn't know about that. Turns out my dad has been to the US 3 fucking times in the past 5 years. 3 times. And never once tried to see me. One of the trips was literally 2 hours from where I live. Alex seemed genuinely surprised that I didn't know, which made me wonder what else I don't know about their relationship. So I called my mom to see if she knew about these trips, and she did this weird avoidance thing, but eventually admitted that Dad stopped paying his court-ordered child support after moving to Singapore. She never pursued it because she didn't want to rock the boat. I was furious, not only at my dad, but at my mom for keeping this from me for so long. Then I made the mistake of looking at May's Instagram. I know, and saw that they have a vacation home in Bali, a whole-ass second house, while he told me he couldn't help with my student loans. And there were all these pictures of him playing with May's nieces and nephews, being all attentive and grandfatherly. It literally made me throw up, though that might have been the pregnancy nausea lol. I decided to confront him. I waited until our next call and was like, so I heard you've been to the US a few times recently. He got really quiet and was like, well, yes, occasional travel for work. I tried to keep my voice steady when I asked, why didn't you ever try to see me during these trips? He claimed they were extremely rushed with back-to-back meetings, but I'd already gotten more details from Alex, so I said, Alex mentioned your New York trip was a whole week long. That's when he got defensive and accused me of interrogating him. Sorry for wanting to know why my own father was secretly in my country multiple times without telling me. I asked about Alex's business and if he had invested in it, which Alex had accidentally mentioned. Dad got super defensive and said that was different. I asked how exactly it was different while literally shaking, trying to keep my voice normal. He sighs. He always does this dramatic sigh thing when he's annoyed, and goes, Alex needed the money for business. You always had your mother. Then he had the nerve to add, boys need their fathers for business guidance, like that's somehow an acceptable thing to say to your daughter. I don't even know what to do with that. After that call, I confronted Alex about hiding Dad's US trips from me. He immediately got defensive, saying it wasn't my place to tell you and that he was respecting Dad's wishes. When I asked if he realized how hurtful that was, he actually said, maybe if you weren't so emotional about Dad all the time. I told him I knew about the business investment, and he went silent, then said, that was between me and Dad. When I asked how long they've been in regular contact, he admitted they talk a couple times a month, but insisted it was mostly business. When I asked why Dad seems more invested in his life, Alex literally said, I don't make everything so complicated, and hung up on me. I haven't talked to either of them since. And Nathan got so angry when I told him everything. I've never seen him that mad. He called my dad a piece of shit, and I defended him. I don't even know why. It was our first real fight since getting married. Nathan doesn't understand why I keep trying with someone who clearly doesn't try back. And honestly, sometimes I don't understand it either. I've decided to take a break from my weekly calls with my dad, at least while I'm dealing with this high-risk pregnancy. I spent 3 hours drafting, deleting, and rewriting an email explaining that I need space, but I'm not cutting him off permanently. It's ironic that now he's calling all the time and leaving messages asking if I'm still upset. His sudden attention is both what I've always wanted and somehow more painful than when he just ignored me. I'm determined to be different with my own child. I'm not going to continue this cycle of distance and disappointment, but I don't know how to set boundaries without burning bridges I might regret later. I still find myself looking at old family photos from before the divorce when he actually seemed happy to be my dad. Now, for the second update. It's been over a year since my last update, and honestly, I'm kind of shocked at how fast time has gone by. So much has happened, life-changingly much, and I've been meaning to update for a while, but being a new mom is insane, and I literally can't remember the last time I showered properly, let alone had time to write a whole Reddit post. Haha. So yeah, I have a 9-month-old daughter now. Her name is Lily, and she's absolutely perfect, except when she's not. Like at 3 a.m. when she decides sleep is for losers. The pregnancy complications I mentioned in my last post got more serious towards the end, and I ended up needing an emergency C-section. It was honestly terrifying, and I remember being wheeled into surgery and having this weird, stupid thought like, I wish my dad was here in the waiting room. Even though, why would he be? He's never been there for anything else. Anyway, both Lily and I are fine now. Recovery from the C-section was rough. No one tells you how hard it is to not be able to even pick up your own baby at first, but we made it through. My relationship with Alex, my brother, is complicated. We've had a few awkward dinners where we very carefully avoid talking about our dad. Like we'll talk about literally anything else. The weather, sports teams neither of us actually follow, the rising cost of daycare, anything but dad. We're both pretending nothing's wrong. As for my dad, well, we barely talk now. I send him photos of Lily occasionally, and he'll respond like 3 to 4 days later with super generic stuff like, she's grown, or cute kid. Like, thanks for the deep emotional connection, Dad. Really feeling the grandfatherly love there. The weirdest thing is he keeps sending these expensive but completely random baby gifts, like designer baby clothes that are way too big, or sometimes too small, or these developmental toys that are for like 3-year-olds. It's like he, or probably May, just Googled expensive baby gifts and clicked the first things that popped up without any thought about what a 9-month-old actually needs. Oh, and he sent a ridiculously expensive silver spoon set for a baby who eats pureed sweet potatoes with her hands. I don't even know where we're supposed to store that until she's like, I don't know, having formal tea parties, but I feel guilty every time I consider returning them, so they're just sitting in a closet. I started therapy a few months after Lily was born, but quit after 3 sessions because the therapist kept talking about how I needed to forgive to move forward, and I got furious. Like, excuse me, forgive what, exactly? The 15-plus years of broken promises, the missed wedding, the secret trips to see my brother, but not me. I can't even really explain why that made me so mad, but it did. Maybe I'll try again with a different therapist eventually, but right now, I barely have time to brush my teeth, let alone work through my daddy issues. The annoying thing is I still catch myself saving random articles about Singapore to discuss with my dad before remembering we barely talk anymore. I even bought a Mandarin language learning app to help Lily connect with her heritage, which is ridiculous because my dad never emphasized his Chinese-American background at all before moving to Singapore. And yes, I realize how pathetic this sounds, thanks. And sometimes when I'm driving alone, I'll rehearse entire conversations with him in my head, like full-on imaginary arguments where I finally say all the things I've wanted to say for years. I know that's probably not healthy, but whatever. Nathan and I are struggling a bit with the whole new parent thing. He's been sleeping in the guest room for the past 3 months, temporarily, so he can be well-rested for work. We don't really talk about this arrangement. It just kind of happened, and now it feels too awkward to bring up. He's an amazing dad to Lily, but sometimes I feel like we're just 2 roommates who happen to co-parent. So the reason I'm actually writing this update, last week at like 11 p.m., I got a call from May. Not my dad, Mei. She never calls me. She told me my dad had a stroke. At first, she was being super vague about how serious it was. I had to ask her like 3 times before she gave me a straight answer. Apparently, it's not immediately life-threatening, but he's facing months of recovery. Then she said, he keeps asking if you're coming, which made me feel awful because apparently he can barely speak right now. And then she hit me with, in our culture, family comes together in crisis, which is rich coming from someone who's never mentioned their culture before in all the years I've known her. I honestly think she just wants help with the caretaking, but maybe I'm being cynical. Alex called me like an hour later to tell me he'd already booked a flight to Singapore and was literally at the airport when we spoke. So that was a fun dose of extra guilt on top of everything else. Like, thanks, Alex. Good to know you can drop everything and fly across the world at a moment's notice while I'm over here with a 9-month-old and a job. My mom actually offered to watch Lily if I wanted to go, which was surprisingly nice of her. But I'm still breastfeeding, and the thought of leaving Lily for that long makes me feel physically ill. Plus, I literally just went back to work 3 months ago after maternity leave, and I don't think my boss would be thrilled with me asking for more time off. I keep thinking about what it means that my dad is supposedly asking for me. Like, does he actually want to fix our relationship? Or is he just scared and reaching out to anyone who might help? I wish I could believe this is some meaningful change, but honestly, I've been disappointed too many times. I spent a whole night calculating exactly how many weekends of my life my dad has missed. It's 783. 783 weekends. And that's not even counting all the weekdays, birthdays, graduations, etc. I don't know why I needed that exact number, but somehow having it makes me feel something. I've been packing and unpacking the same suitcase for 3 days, trying to decide if I should go and trying to figure out what to even pack that would somehow not make me look like a disaster. Why do I still care what he thinks of me? I hate that I still care. Last night, Nathan and I finally had a real conversation about it. I was unsure about going, but Nathan was clear that my dad always disappoints me. I got defensive and said he doesn't understand family obligations, which was unfair since Nathan is super close with his family. Nathan pointed out that obligation isn't the same as love, which made me cry. He suggested I should go for myself, not for my dad, and assured me he could handle Lily while I was gone. So I booked a 5-day trip without Lily. I'm using money from Lily's education fund to pay for it, nearly $2,000 for a last-minute flight, which makes me feel horrible, but Nathan said we'll replace it. I didn't tell my dad or May I was coming. Only Alex knows. I left 4 pages of instructions for Nathan about Lily's care, which probably made him feel like I don't trust him, but I couldn't help it. The 18-hour flight was awful. I cried basically the entire time, and my poor seatmate just pretended not to notice. I kept thinking about Lily and whether she would forget who I was in 5 days. Irrational, I know, and whether Nathan was following my instructions about her bedtime routine. When I finally got to the hospital, my dad's condition was not as bad as I was led to believe. Don't get me wrong, he was definitely ill, but he was literally watching TV when I walked in. The shock on his face when he saw me was genuine, though, and then he immediately switched to acting like he'd been expecting me all along. The hospital room was filled with these expensive flower arrangements, but there were no personal photos anywhere. Alex looked so comfortable in his role as the dutiful son, and it was clear he and May had some kind of relationship I knew nothing about. They had inside jokes, and she kept asking him about his business. And then I found it. I was looking for a tissue in the bedside drawer and found a photo album. Inside were pictures of my dad at Alex's business opening last year. Another US trip I wasn't told about. As I flipped through it, I realized my dad had been at multiple important events in Alex's life over the years. Graduations, award ceremonies, things he had never bothered to attend for me. I waited until the next morning when I found my dad alone. I confronted him about visiting Alex without telling me. When I showed him the photos from Alex's business opening last year, which was just 2 hours from where I live, he tried to dismiss my concerns. He eventually admitted that Alex was easier to be a father to because I always wanted more. When I asked if wanting a father who shows up was bad, he said it was exhausting. May interrupted us, talking about respecting elders, and Alex took Dad's side, saying my timing was inappropriate. I realized then that this pattern would never change. I told them I was done making myself smaller to fit their version of a daughter and left. I changed my flight to leave immediately and paid a ridiculous change fee. I called Nathan from the airport and completely broke down, like full-on ugly crying, probably scaring everyone around me. After listening to me cry, Nathan told me he'd already booked my return ticket because he knew what would happen. When I got home, Nathan had taken a week off work. The house was clean. Lily was happy. He told me he'd been waiting for me to see what he'd seen all along about my dad. 2 weeks later, I got an envelope with a check reimbursing me for the Singapore flights, and a note from Alex that just said, "He'll never change, but I should have. I haven't responded yet. I don't know if I will." My dad's only contact since then was a formal email about setting up a trust fund for Lily with significant strings attached, including required annual visits to Singapore. I returned the check with a note declining any financial relationship. Part of me felt guilty about turning down money that could help Lily, but the strings attached weren't worth it. Oh, and I discovered something else. My dad had listed me as his medical proxy and power of attorney without telling me. His final manipulation, making me responsible without giving me any real relationship. I'm in the process of having my name removed. There's been no dramatic reconciliation, no transformation. I just stopped checking his social media. I removed the notifications from my phone. I still feel sad sometimes, but it's different now, less desperate. Alex visits occasionally. Our relationship is permanently changed, but not completely severed. I declined my dad's Christmas invitation with a simple, "We have plans," instead of the 3-page explanation I would have written before. Nathan and I are slowly rebuilding our intimacy. He was so unexpectedly supportive through all of this that it made me realize how much I'd been keeping him at a distance. We've started seeing a couples therapist, and he moved back into our bedroom last week. I think I finally realized I was trying to get love from someone who wasn't going to give it. I wanted something I was never going to get. I still occasionally check my phone when it rings at unusual hours. Old habits die hard. But I've accepted that the distance between us wasn't Singapore. It was that we wanted different things from being father and daughter. I have no plans to visit Singapore again, but I haven't formally cut contact. I've just stopped trying. Lily will know her grandfather exists, but I won't teach her to chase his approval the way I did. Edit. Thank you all for the supportive comments on my previous posts. To those asking if I've told my dad I'm removing myself as his medical proxy, no, I've decided to let the lawyers handle that communication. Edit 2. Several people have asked if I regret going to Singapore. Honestly, no. It was painful, but I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. Sometimes closure isn't what we expect it to be. Edit 3. For those suggesting Alex was trying to protect me by hiding their relationship, maybe. But he also had plenty of opportunities to be honest with me and chose not to be. I'm not cutting him off completely, but our relationship is definitely different now. Edit 4. Some of you have pointed out that Nathan has been showing red flags by sleeping in the guest room, and I just want to clarify. We were both struggling with new parenthood. The separation wasn't one-sided. We're working on things now, and honestly, after seeing him step up when I went to Singapore, I have a lot more faith in our marriage. And no, mom shamers, I don't regret leaving Lily for 5 days. She was perfectly fine with her dad, and sometimes taking care of yourself is taking care of your child.